All right, my friends. So Rob writes in. He is stating a question that he saw, I think, on my channel. My hair's all messed up. Just got back from taking Pablo for a walk. I have my hat on, so I got a hat head. So sorry about that. But anyway, it's interesting. The guy writes in. He writes, and I'm not sure if he posted my channel or not, but he wrote in. He goes, he has $1 million. I think he's 59 years old. He's got $1 million in an IRA at Vanguard. He's expecting a windfall in the next few years from the sale of company stock. All right, so $1 million IRA expecting a windfall in the next couple of years from sale of company stocks. Should he start converting now, and should he start, if he does, pay the taxes from that IRA? So this is interesting. Now, I don't know the whole premise of what he has for company stock, if he can do NUA, if it's from an IRA, net unrealized appreciation, where you can roll out the stock into an account in which you can defer paying capital. You can essentially what you're doing is you're taking the basis of the company stock, putting it into a taxable account. That is taxable as ordinary income, just like any distribution from an IRA is. But if you leave the stock in there for over a year, then you sell it, then it's taxed as long-term capital gain. I don't know if that's part. I don't know anything about the company stock. Don't know anything. It's a windfall. There's a windfall this guy's talking about. But then he said for the windfall is the sale of company stock. I just don't know. So we're going to look at the $1 million that he has in an IRA. All right, so he's got $1 million IRA right now at Vanguard. At some point in the future, he's going to get a bunch of money. We're just going to say $1 million in a windfall. Oops. All right, so his question here is, should he use this IRA in which to pay taxes, or wait to do the Roth conversions, or wait for he gets that windfall? It's a challenge, man. But it all comes down to this one simple point. Taxes today, taxes tomorrow, taxes future. Everything comes down to this. Everything comes down to this. And let me just use for me for an example. Last year, so 2 years ago, my taxes were high. High taxes. High. Last year, they were low. This year, they're high again. All right? Now, this is the benefit of being in America. This is one of the things that the liberals always overlook. They think that if you're high taxes, you're always in the high tax bracket. And if you're low, you're always in the low tax bracket. And nothing could be further from the truth. In America, we have huge mobility. Huge mobility. So if I'm sitting here in a high tax bracket, and I'm thinking I'm forever going to be in a high tax bracket, I'm not sure I want to do Roth conversions. But I will tell you right now, there's two things that are working in this premise. Two strikes against you, and we'll just go back to me, for instance. All right? So I'm 49 years old. I'm not 59 like this guy. I'm 49. But there's two things that are already against me right now, which makes Roth conversions very attractive to me. And two things are against you most likely too, if you're married in particular. But just for me, there are two things. One is that the Trump tax, we have the increasing taxes. Increase tax rates. That's number one, because the Trump tax bill will go away come 2026. Whether or not Trump gets reelected, whether or not the Senate stays Republican, I have no clue what it's going to be. And I would imagine the Senate would be more along the line to approve a extension, if not actually permanence, of the Trump tax bill. But we don't know about the House. We just don't know. So as we sit here today, tax rates are going up come 2026. And now I'm married, filing jointly, and at some point I'll be single. All right, so we know for a fact that I have higher tax rates because I'm married, filing jointly, and at some point I'll be single. When I say I'm talking about my tax filing unit, being my wife and me, Charlotte and me. 3, kids. 0 credits, if you want to call it that. All right, have no credits. So I know my taxes will go up, and again, it depends on your income. This has a lot to think about for someone who's my age. But that was something I'm thinking about for sure, is that what will my potential taxes be once my kids are off the payroll. What are you doing, buddy? Oh, jeez Louise. See, okay there, Growly. Number 4, loss of mortgage deduction. Now, for many of you guys, that's not an issue. For me, it is, because my interest plus my property taxes are quite high, enough plus my charitable giving that I have more than a standard deduction. As I get older, the kids get off, we downsize the house, and we have no mortgage at all, then this will go away. And so essentially, I'll have probably a higher tax burden at that point. Does that make sense? And then, of course, 5, your income. All right. So if my income is going down, all right, my loss of mortgage deduction, I'm losing children off this. So we have a couple things. If my income goes down, right, that means I'll be in a lower tax bracket in the future. If my income goes up, that means I'll be a higher tax bracket in the future. Loss of mortgage deduction will put me in a higher tax bracket in the future. Kids, I have 4 kids now going to 0. That means I'll be in a higher tax bracket. Married, finally, joint with a single means I'll be in a higher tax bracket. Increased tax rates mean I'll be in a higher tax bracket. So for me, I would want to convert. Because essentially I'm hedging. I'm saying, look, I'm going to pay more taxes today to avoid paying more taxes in the future for sure. Because most likely, increased tax rates, one of us, Charlotte or me, will be married, filed, joint, a single. We're going to get our standard deductions or our kids' credits and various personal exemptions go away. Won't have a mortgage deduction to write off. Won't have higher property taxes to write off. We can say prop taxes go down. So it'll be less write-offs. I'll probably just use a standard deduction. And my income may or may not go up. I don't know. But let's just assume it goes up the way it did this past year, that I have more income for which to pay taxes on. Now, that's the way it looks immediately, but how about in the future, all right? So now we're saying we're going to fast forward 10 years from now. Just for simplicity, we'll say, kids are out of the house. I just bear with me just a second when I'm saying, look, I'm not, so listen how this will work. So I'm saying right now it would make sense to convert. But now we fast forward 10 years from now. So we're still married filing jointly, all right? So that probably won't change. So we're just going to say that continues on. We have no children, small house, low property tax, and we're going to say my income drops, lower income. All right, so in this case, here we're sitting there thinking, if I did the converting before, I could. So my taxes before are up here, but now they're down here because my income is so low. So did it make sense to convert here? If it looks like there's a good chance when I'm 59, my income's down here. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So that's the issue. So I converted when my income was, even though it was, my tax situation was more beneficial than what it was when I was 5 years ago. Let's see. So when I'm 49 now, income's high, I got high deductions, whatever. So if I converted, that makes sense because 5 years from now, I'm 55, income's still high, lower, I have higher income, we'll just say higher tax brackets, the whole thing, less kids, so less deductions to take care of. Thus, it makes sense to convert because my income was high 10 years ago, i.e. today, but it's even higher 5 years ago. Does that mean 5 years ago or 5 years from now, if that makes sense? So again, it was like this, then it went up, and now it's way down. So 2019, 2020, we'll say 26, 2034, for whatever. Does that make sense? So my income is here, we'll say about 150, we'll say 200, and then 60. Does that make sense? So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so from here to there, it makes sense to convert. It absolutely does because my income and my taxes were much higher. But if I wasn't taking the money out of the IRA at that point, why does it matter? And especially when my income drops, because maybe I just don't want to work. Maybe I got hurt. Maybe whatever. Maybe people hate me on YouTube. Maybe no one hires me. I don't know. But at that stage, at 2034, that's when I would have ultimately been able to convert. So in this case, I say I don't want to convert, because even though my income will be higher in a few years, it'll be significantly lower. Potentially is worth the risk, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because I'm saying I don't want to convert there, because even though it's going to be higher here, it's going to be much lower at this stage. And the way I look at it for me, I'm like, look, when I'm 60 years old, Frank, I plan on taking no clients at that point, just plan on writing books and maybe doing YouTube. And that's it. In that case, I think my income will be way lower, and then I'll start wanting to convert then, because I haven't taken no Social Security till I'm 70. All right, so I'm not taking Social Security. I got $60K a year in income from, I don't know, part-time job, selling book. Who knows what it would be? I'm still married, filing jointly, and I have, we'll say, $300,000 in an IRA that's growing each and every year. So I want to get this over to a Roth here. I want to get this $300,000 when I'm 60 years old over to a Roth, because I'm not taking Social Security. I'm making the least amount of money I'll ever make again. And once Social Security kicks in, my income will start going back up again. All right, especially if I have RMDs. So it's kind of, we just don't know. That's the issue that I think a lot of people overlook. Like, it doesn't make sense. It might, but it might not. It depends on what you look like from an income perspective. Now, because you just don't know. So again, you have two things against you or two things for you that makes doing Roth conversions right now make sense. We know the Trump tax bills are probably going to go away. My pessimist in me thinks the Democrats will probably take the Senate in 2020. I think Trump will be reelected by pretty significant margins, but I think the Democrats will probably take the Senate. So I'm actually not expecting the Trump tax bill to be solidified in a permanent status. I'm not. I think they'll throw some, Trump will be reelected. I'm not even sure if they'll work around it until 2025, because it does grandfather or sunset in 2026 or 20, whatever, but it'll be after Trump's gone. So I'm not sure they'll even solidify anything there. So I would suggest that the Trump tax will go away and tax rates are going up. So we know for a fact you're going to have higher tax rates, most likely, in my opinion. Part two, you're going to have higher tax rates if you're married, because one of you is going to die off. Hope that makes sense. Now, if you're single, right, well, you take away the married filing joint because you're single, so that won't be an issue at all. Now the question is just your income. If you're single, so this hasn't changed. Now it's just a matter of fact of tax rates. And they're going to go up, most likely. Tax rates are going to go up. So if they're going up, you want to take advantage of the lower tax rates today. Lower tax rates today. And do Roth conversions, for sure. Lower tax rates today to do Roth conversions. Do Roth conversions. But, again, is your income, what's your income going to be? And right now you're like, man, I'm making pretty good money. Then you quit, and then it goes down here. So now your income falls off. Good, falls, whoops, and now low. So even though you're making good money, and even though you got lower tax rates today than you do in the future, well, if your income drops, even if the tax rates are higher, you still have lower taxes in the future in which to do Roth conversions. That's when it makes sense. It just really depends on what your income is. So let's go back to the guy Rob asked about. Should he pay taxes from his IRA or take the money out, do it later when he gets his windfall? I just think you take, and I don't know if this guy's married. I don't know. I think you take it from your IRA. Because in my opinion, the point is, if you got $1 million in an IRA, man, we want that sucker exhausted. I would much rather have a taxable account worth $800,000 and then an IRA worth $1 million. I'm just telling you right now, I would much rather have that. Now, stupid Elizabeth Warren's talk about taxing unrealized gains, that's not going anywhere. It's DOA. It's just a stupid thing. I mean, it just shows how she's not the brightest bulb. taxing unrealized gains is stupid. That's never going to get through. I hate saying never because you don't know. But by and large, they're not taxing unrealized gains. Now, could they raise long-term capital gain tax? I don't think they're ever going to do that. There'll be so many people with pitchforks saying, wait a second, we built these assets under the assumption of lower long-term capital gains. Now, they could raise it to a little bit, but they'll never be taxed. Again, my thinking, like ordinary income. So IRAs are always taxed as ordinary income, which is always more than long-term capital gains. Long-term capital gains. So IRAs are taxed as ordinary income, always more than long-term capital gains. Thus, taxable accounts trump IRAs, without question. But Josh, you don't have to pay taxes in IRAs until you pull it out. Well, if you do it right with asset location, you don't have to pay taxes in these guys either, or minimal taxes if you hold the right accounts in there. And that'd be growth-oriented mutual funds or ETFs without much dividends, without a lot of turnover and things of that nature, if you do it correctly. But most people don't. And so in that case, they're right. IRAs are probably better than taxable accounts just because they're ignorant, unfortunately. Again, ignorant doesn't mean they're stupid, just means they don't know. However, at the end of the day, I'd rather have 800,000 here than $1 million here. All right, because $1 million has a taxed lien on your property, and that lien is whatever the government wants it to be. At least here, you pay the taxes today. You don't have to worry about it again. I mean, it could be part of an estate. Well, that could be part of an estate. They could raise a tax on ordinary income, which would be here. They could raise a tax on long-term capital gains, which would be here for sure. I just don't see that happening, not to the extent of the taxes on ordinary income that you have in IRAs. I don't. So my inclination is I'd pay the tax with that guy's IRA, have the windfall here growing in an account like VBK. That's what I have. The Vanguard Small Cap Growth Fund. And the reason I have that is because very little dividends, very little turnover. So that sucker just grows and grows and grows and grows. And at my death, depending on if you look community property or common law, or depending on if you leave it to your heirs, there's a step-up basis. So no one pays tax on it under current tax law. But right now, I'm not paying anything because it doesn't yield any dividend of any significance, and there's no capital gains because it's an ETF. So here is essentially there's a deferral similar to this, except when the money comes out of this guy, it's not taxed as OI, it's taxed as long-term capital gains. So this is much, much more beneficial. 800,000 is much more beneficial than $1 million here. So if I was this guy, I'd absolutely pay tax with the money coming from the IRA. Get that windfall, put it in a taxable account as low capital gain, low dividend, and just let that sucker go. I hope this helps. A lot to the puzzle here. It's not easy. A lot to the puzzle, so you got to think this through. All right, we'll see you.